You've got to talk to your followers and your readers. You've got to connect with them. It's better to have 1,000 followers that you're talking to than 1,000,000 followers that are just empty. Make sure everything you do is a conversation and you're actually engaging with people and not just shouting to them and waiting for a reply.
Microphone check 1 2. What is this?
You're now listening to a brand new episode of the Play Big Faster podcast.
Look what you done started. Let's go.
Paul, I am so excited that you dropped by the pod today because I have so many questions about email marketing. To be honest, it's something that I struggle with because I'm not consistent. So I'm going to be asking you today about your secret sauce and some of your best tips. What do you have for us today?
I appreciate you having me on. I'd love to talk more about it. Email's been a core piece of my business. It's probably we've always done email with what I do, but about 5 years ago, we really switched up our strategies and it's just been gold since then. So yeah, I love talking about it.
So this is the thing. I started out with an email newsletter and you're looking at your analytics, your open rates, your unsubscribes, and sometimes it can get discouraging. Seriously, you think that you're spending hours crafting this perfect email. You have your follow-up emails, you have this beautiful funnel, and nobody responds. What are some of the things that you would advise people to do when they are brand new to email marketing?
So here's where I help my clients. This is where I like to start. First, let's not worry about what you're going to send each week. The broadcast messages that you send to everybody, we can figure those out later. The thing I like to start with, and I think is really the secret sauce of the power of email marketing, is starting with an automated sequence, and especially one if we can figure out how to segment your list. What are the kind of groupings of your world, and let's deliver a targeted message to that group. So for example, on my website, powwows.com, we're the place where anybody can come and learn, explore, connect with Native American culture. So we have one email segment and we have opt-ins on pages where where we have more information about what a powwow is or what the etiquette of powwow is. So we have opt-ins there of what to expect at your first powwow. So people that are new to this whole world will get into that email sequence. And in that, it's a series of maybe 10 emails. And we really go through the entire, here's what a powwow is. Here's how you find one near you. Here's what to expect when you go. Here's the do's and don'ts, all that kind of stuff, the history of it. We go through all of it in detail. And the people who get on that list really want that information because they want to go experience one, but they may be a little anxious or not sure what to do. So when they get on that, they are very engaged. And here's what I really love to do. And you're talking about, you feel like you're just talking to nobody. In the very first email, I say, hey, over the next few days, I'm going to tell you all about powwows. We're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to learn all about it together. But I want to know from you, what is it that draws you to powwows? What is it you're most excited about? You're really looking forward to seeing the dancing, the singing, the crafts, the food. Tell me what it is. And that starts a conversation. And I get replies to that. Every day I open my inbox and I'll have several replies because they got into that sequence. And then you're not talking to the void, right? You're actual having real conversations. And that's where you can really begin to build community because you can get these responses and then you're having full conversations, not just shouting emails at people.
Okay, so now I feel like I've jumped too far ahead because for them to get on that email list, what sort of lead magnets are you using to attract people so that you can actually capture those emails?
I do a variety of things. And I know a lot of email marketers talk about you got to build these lead magnets and offer these free PDF downloads. And those are good and those work. For me, my most effective ones are, again, figuring out what questions people are looking for and just showing them an email subscribe form that tells them you're going to answer that question. So for the what to expect at your first powwow, literally the form just says, hey, I'm going to send you a series of emails and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about powwows. I'll answer all of your questions. I have another one. It's a really simple segment of our list, but hey, are you looking for a powwow in your state? I'll help you find one. And so those kind of forms are really simple and effective because you're answering the question that people are looking for and you're delivering the information. So it doesn't need to be some fancy PDF download. You just have to deliver the information.
Paul, it can't be that easy. That is
It's
so
that easy. It is that easy. These work so well.
love it. So when you talk about segmenting your list, do you have different tools that you use? Because some people I've heard people say that they use Kajabi for their email stuff. which is all one solution. They may use something like Active Campaign, MailChimp, Constant Contact. What are some
Mhm.
resources for people that may not can start out with a coach or a
Right.
consultant that they can get started with until they're able to come to you?
All right, so my plug, paulgowder.com/email tools is where I did a YouTube video on some of the tools I use. For me, I love ConvertKit because at least for me, it is an easy way to build these sequences and build these segments, and it makes sense to me. Some people like Kajabi, and that works with their brain better. For me, I like ConvertKit. It's really simple and easy to set up these sequences. To get people to create these forms, I love ConvertBox. It's a great tool. It's if you're a WordPress user, it's really cool because you can deliver email subscribe forms based on your categories and tags inside of WordPress. So again, going back to figuring out where to put these, you're able to say, hey, on everything that is, if you, I often use the example of some of my friends who are Disney travel agents, and my wife's a Disney travel agent. So if you have on every page where you're talking about cruises, you can have a pop up that says, "Hey, here's my cruise email list," right? Or here's my info about cruises, and it pops up on every page. So that's a really cool tool. So those are two that really help me a lot.
And so now I'm going to have to put a pin in this for just a second because you said something that I wanted to touch on. And I was just looking over my notes for the show. I noticed that you said you've been on at least 42 trips to Disney. Paul, that's a lot. But I
It's a
love
lot.
tell me about it
So
because yeah, this whole show is about entrepreneurship, but also how to do it and actually have a life. So how are you building your business around your family?
always easy, but we powwows.com, when I started that, it was never to be a business. It was, we started trying to figure out how to monetize it and how to do other side hustles to pay for it. It didn't pay for itself for a long time, but once it got bigger and we had bills, we had to figure out how to do it. So over the years, we've worked a variety of side hustles, right? And continue to do all kinds of things in addition to just running powwows.com. And in the process of that, my wife and I, before we had our daughter, we loved traveling. And so that was the thing, is if we're going to work these nights and weekends and we're going to spend our lunch hours and before work, if we're going to put all this time, the reason we're going to do it is we're going to do this to build a life that we can enjoy, and we're going to travel. We didn't want to wait till retirement, right? A lot of people do that. We wanted to really enjoy it while we could, while she was growing up. The whole 42 trips to Disney, that my daughter, somewhere in like early high school, middle school, we had been several times, and we're close enough to drive. So we were able to go down on like long weekends and things like that. And we had been a bunch, and she set a goal for herself, is she wanted us to take her 40 times before she graduated high school. And we were able to hit that. We hit it and more. Her last trip before she graduated high school, her marching band actually got to march down Main Street of Disney World. And that was her 42nd trip. So that was really cool. Capped off her experience as a high school student before she headed off to college. And the really cool part of that story, too, is now she actually works at Disney World. She is in their college program and works the Winnie the Pooh attraction in Magic Kingdom. So that's super exciting. She lives down in Florida now and gets to live out her dream doing that. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, that was our priority, is that we wanted to be able to travel. And so we did that. Actually, in the process, my wife actually became a travel agent because we're helping other people plan their trips. So we started doing that. And when you combine travel agent discounts with us being able to buy annual passes, and so when we took a long weekend, it was easy because we already had our tickets to Disney World. Those kind of things make it a lot easier to then go down there an excessive number of times.
Look, I love that story. Love it. So just look, pivoting back because I want to make sure that we got that Disney story.
Yeah.
It is so important. When I was starting my business, there are so many 12, 16, 18-hour days that I remember working. And I look at my kids now and they're huge. They were itty bitty babies when I started, and they just grew up overnight. So I can really appreciate making that a focus and how people as entrepreneurs build their business in that fashion. So back to growing your email list.
Yes, ma'am.
We have our tools. We're going to now. What's the website again, so we can check out your resources?
paulgowder.com/email tools.
Okay, so I'm going to go there. I'm going to check out my tools. In the
Yeah.
event that I get there and I'm scared to death because I'm not tech savvy, you actually work with people to get some of this stuff done, right?
Yes, I work with people, whether you're just now starting and need a little help setting this all up and getting started, or If like you said, you've been doing email marketing for a while and feel like you are talking to the void, or you're just not getting any kind of results out of it, I help people jumpstart their email list too. Yeah. So I'll help you wherever you are in your journey. For me, and here's the key, is so many people treat email as this other thing over here. I do all my posting on social media, and I craft my great TikToks and have my Facebook group. And then, oh yeah, and I do email. I want you to change how you think about that. I think email can be the core of your community. Can be the heart, because that's the only place that when you send a message that you're going to be able to talk directly one-on-one with people. You have no idea if you post a TikTok, who's going to see that. And same thing on Facebook. God, this is so frustrating. I have 1 million followers on Facebook, and I send a message out and sometimes only 1,000 people see it. That is so frustrating. When I send an email, I know everybody's going to get that email. They may not read it, but they're all going to have it in their inbox, and I'm able to talk directly to them. So I feel like that is really where your community can live.
So when we talk about email, I know that there are different ways. I know you mentioned just saying, hey, I'm going to provide a solution to a problem that you have. But I've also heard of people that purchase lists. They scrape addresses from social media and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I guess there is a place for that. And especially if you're e-commerce, maybe that can work. And I have offers all the time. Like, people want to sell me lists of conferences and conventions, and these are targeted people that are in your niche, maybe. But I personally would rather have somebody that subscribed to me willingly, because they're going to be more likely to open and engage with you. And this is another thing I tell all my clients is, it is a great thing when we're able to purge out your cold subscribers. People get really scared about removing people from their email list. I think that is a great thing. You should do it all the time. Get people off your list if they're not opening it. We only want people on our list that are actually going to read, open, and engage with our emails. If they're not your people, it's great. Let's get them off the list, and let's really work on the people who want to hear from you. There's a place for it, and I get it for some people, but that's just not where I'm going.
So let's talk a little bit about strategies. Is there a magic number for an email sequence that engages people? I know a lot of it has to do with content. It doesn't matter how many I send if the content's good. But is there like a core number for maybe a new subscriber?
I mean, I think it definitely depends on the content. My what to expect. It's your first powwow. I think it's 9 or 10 emails. I don't want that to be too long, but I also have a sequence that is probably my best performing sequence in terms of driving traffic to my website, and it's 52 emails long. I send it out every Thursday for a year, and every January I redo it. So if you're on my list, you're getting that email forever. I create 52 new ones every January, and it goes out all week. And that one is so cool, because all I'm doing is going on a website, finding out what the 52 most popular articles were last year, and I'm putting them in an email sequence. And each week you're going to get a new article, and it's going to say, hey, this might be one you missed. You might not have seen it when we published it. Here's why you like it. Here's why you want to read it. Here's the link. Click it. And it's every Thursday we get traffic to the website because we're able to do that. So it really does depend. I have other email sequences that are 3 emails, and that's all you need, right? It really just depends on the content.
Now, and when you talk about emails, because I know people use different terms, I've had people
Right.
refer to their sequences as campaigns or just broadcasts. For some of us who may or may not be tech savvy, what else goes along with that? Do you consider that a campaign? Is it just informational, or like when we decide that we want to actually make an offer? Is there anything that we need to do that's a little bit different than just, hey, here's your information?
In these sequences, you want to really take them through a journey. So if you are taking them through buying a product or service, you want to, in your emails, you want to lead up to that. Gary Vaynerchuk has a great book, Jab Punch. You got to deliver value and then ask for the sale. So that's a great place for an email sequence, right? You can tell them all about it and why they want it, what the outcome is going to be, how it's going to affect them, how it's going to change their life or change their business. Then you can ask for the sale, right? Or ask them to whatever the call to action is. I think these are great places to really help nurture. A lot of people say these are nurture sequences, right? This is where you want to do that. And whether it's having them buy a service or just becoming a member of your Patreon or whatever, that's where you want to do it. And you can answer all these questions. So it's taking them through a journey. For your broadcast messages, the ones you're going to send out to every single person on your list, that's a little bit different. Those can be a little more general. I still like to use those, and in those, I talk very directly to people. I'm very personal. I put a little something in there like what I'm doing this week or what happened with me at the beginning of the email. Again, because this is where I think my community is and where I can actually engage with people. So I'm very direct and personal, and I'm talking to them in the first person in the intro of each email. And then below, I'll have whatever that broadcast was about down below. But yeah, it's a great place you really want to make sure you're just talking to people. It's a conversation.
Now, I will tell you, I'm just blown away by over 1 million followers on Facebook, because this is not your mother's Facebook. Facebook is different than it was years ago when
Yeah.
they first came out. So that is a great thing. How do you use just really your social media following to build a community? And just how is your email list, social media, and then the people that you engage with on a regular basis, how do you start building a community?
Community is when people feel something in common with each other, when they have common beliefs, common goals, they want to feel like they're part of something bigger. So you have to develop your content to create that feeling. Whether it's, again, like if you're a Disney travel agent, you want to make people feel like they're part of your trips. If you're doing trip reports, you want to make them feel like they went along with you. Or if you're covering sports, you want to make sure that you're all fans together, right? That kind of thing. So it's figuring out what it is that causes people to have that feeling of belonging, and then just base your content on that. And you got to not talk to people like you're a brand. You've got to talk to people like you're somebody. With powwows.com, I try not to, like, I don't put my face out there a whole lot, because it's not just me. We have a lot of people that develop our content and are doing it. But when we post, we try to be a little more personal in our we're more casual and conversational, even in our captions on social media. We want to make sure that people get that feeling that they're actually listening to somebody, not just the big brand talking to them.
So, Paul, you've given us so many tips. But what I really want to know is, if you had just one piece of advice to share with entrepreneurs on how to play big faster with their email and community building, what would it be?
I think that, again, going back to my emails, when I said I redid my strategy 5 years or so ago, that's when I really changed my perspective on it. And I went from building these emails with all these flashy pictures and graphics and making it look like this corporate website and banners, and it was really pretty, but it was cold and it was just shouting at people. You've got to, whether it's an email or social media post, you've got to talk to your followers and your readers. You've got to connect with them. And that's the only way you're going to do that, is to actually engage with them. So try it. Just go post something on your social media and ask people a question. Ask where everybody's from, or ask them, what piece of advice would you give? Ask the same question in your Facebook group or in your email, or, hey, when did you first go to Disney World, for example? When was your first trip? What was your first memory? Ask these kind of questions. And more importantly, when you get a reply, whether it's on email or in your Facebook group or on your TikTok, you've got to reply to them. You've got to make them know that you are behind this and you're talking to them. This is the whole thing, is you've got to actually be a person and talk. It's not, people want to chase the big 1 million followers, and it's great, but it's better to have 1,000 followers that you're talking to than 1 million followers that are just empty. So that's my advice when you got starting out. Make sure everything you do is a conversation and you're actually engaging with people and not just shouting to them and not waiting for a reply.
Paul, thank you so much for dropping by the pod. I'll make sure that I include the link so that people can have more tools to grow their email list.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time.
And until next time, play big faster.
Thanks for listening to this episode, and remember to play big faster.